Hi, I'm Kata, and this is Torn City News. I wanted to say a big congratulations to PT Family for putting out the first 25K chain and for holding the current record for the most respect gained for a 25K chain. Their victory was a little controversial, with people complaining that they knew it was going to be released before it was released, and that's why they started their 10K chain they were in the middle of when the 25K was released. But really, this is Torn. Would we expect anything less from everybody? Whether they had inside info or not, I doubt they did, but still, they did a fantastic job. I also wanted to mention that Hellraiser from PT Family broke the record for the most hits in a 10K chain with 507 hits. That's just crazy. Way to kick ass, Hellraiser. I do think that Hippo Hugger needs to add a new category for his record thread, though. Most hits made during a 10K chain with the most bounties on them at the time. Not sure why I'd want that added. I just, think it would be a great addition. Also, congratulations to JFC for completing their 25K in record time. From what I understand, they are the fastest at the time of this recording. And I also wanted to add that Rainbowsaurus is the best. I'm happy to say that Vulpes finished our 10K chain on Sunday. It was a great party, like all Vulpes chains are. And I'd like to say a special thank you to our guests. Everybody kicked ass and was amazing. Looking forward to many more fun chains just like that. A big shout out to Chit for being our top hitter this chain and to Smurf2 for coming in second. But for real, everybody that contributed did an amazing job, and I can't wait till the 25K. JFA's Captain K took it upon himself to create some chaos for Vulpes and a few other chaining factions during their 25K chain. And it's easy to feel butthurt when someone makes a point of trying to stop what you're working hard to achieve. But he was also right in his article that was recently published in the newspaper talking about how we can't all hold hands as factions or the game would be boring as hell. If you haven't gotten a chance to check it out, I definitely recommend it. It's a really good read. That being said, I'm sure he wasn't upset at all that we used him for our 10,000th hit. Ched recently announced that deceased players will no longer count as a taken slot in a faction. I personally think this is an excellent update that allows factions to honor their fallen teammates without having to lose a slot. Most factions were willing to give up this space so their friends could be listed on the faction roster already. But it's great that they're still able to do this, but now they won't be losing a coveted space in their faction. This change did prompt a discussion on the forums about whether or not it was disrespectful to kick a deceased faction member from a faction. I'm not sure if this change is related, but I had noticed a week or two ago that Philistine had been kicked from Relentless, and I had been planning on mentioning it on this week's episode anyway before the update was announced. I've heard a lot of people say that it's the faction's decision whether or not to kick the member, but I think kicking a deceased member is very disrespectful. I asked one of Relentless's current leaders about what happened, and he did confirm that Phil had been kicked from the faction, but had been added back via the new update. He said that they had wanted space for the new recruits, and they didn't want to wait till they were at 100 to kick Phil, because the new member that replaced him would maybe get treated differently. Okay. Or, hear me out here, they could have just, not added the 100th member. I mean, they could have not added the 100th member and left Phil in, like most factions have done prior to this update. But I guess that was their decision, and who am I to say if it was shitty or not, really. Let's see here. Although Nash is being hailed as a hero for posting the script to block Evil Duck, and still is for bringing the attention to this important new feature, it was brought to my attention that the script had previously been posted by Ahab about a year ago. Not as widely known as Nash, Ahab's post went largely unnoticed, so he hasn't been included in the new Torn holiday, St. Relentless Day. In celebration of this new holiday, a new glowing green beverage will be unleashed on the Torn population. This new St. Relentless Day stout will be in limited supply, with the newspaper suggesting that participants in the current community events being the most likely to receive this new beer. Currently, there are 2 community events going on, one that asks Torn citizens to reveal their most regrettable drunken decisions, and another to create a biblical depiction of Nash bestowing the block script on the Torn population. Mock is also said to be rumored to be working on this new forum blocking feature and adding it to Doc Torn. A $300 million bounty was recently placed on BodyBagger, which prompted numerous gangbang attempts on the famous Torn player. A group of Relentless members were eventually able to successfully take down the Torn icon, with Nash claiming the $300 million prize. I'm not sure who actually placed the bounty. Evil Duck has claimed on the forums that he was the one responsible. I don't think it was actually him, although that lavish of a bounty is certainly his style. Did anybody do a reveal or anything? Does anybody know who it was? I didn't really look on the forum super hard to find it out because I haven't really been around on there too much recently. Sugar Valves recently wrote an article that talked about the new detective agencies that will be soon opening in Torn City. A couple of interesting highlights about this company are that employees will be able to arrest fellow Torn citizens and also add them to a sort of no-fly list, is from what I understood from the article. This new attack should hopefully put some extra butthurt into the game, which will maybe bring up the interest level a bit. I'm not sure how I missed this, but apparently, well, I'm now slightly obsessed with spreading the word about the Unofficial Torn App created by Mihai Kosti. This app has saved my Torn life multiple times in the past week and a half that I've had it. Some of the features include notifications for events, messages, landing, drug, medical, booster cooldowns, minimum, maximum life, faction chaining, which is still in testing. I'm not sure if that's actually working fully yet. And when you get out of the hospital, there's also an alarm for when you land. That's like my favorite feature. That has been amazing. Although it's kind of annoying when I land and I'm trying to do something really quick and then trying to turn off the alarm at the same time, but it's still a lifesaver. A lot more features are in beta testing, and they will be released soon, which seems to be a much quicker soon than the normal Torn soon. Currently, the app is only for Android users and is a little bit buggy, but I would definitely recommend checking it out. Even with it being a little bit buggy, it's still totally worth it. The newest troll to make a name for himself on the forums, BCM16, who apparently was around before but just came back, was in and out of Fed not too long ago. I think it was from Maltese, pretty sure. Not really 100% sure. Supposedly he is HH Dude's brother, stepbrother, something. We're not really sure. I'm not really sure when he was feted or if it was a recent development or if he's been gone a long time now, but apparently Mike was feted at some point. Who knew? That one's totally shocking. Never would have thought he would get feted. It might be again, actually. I think he's been feted before. Ambriella was listed as being in Fed for RMT, but only for 5 days. This was definitely a curious case to me. If anybody has the background on this, I would love to know it. It looks like the former JFA 2.0-er is currently residing in Japan in a shack with no faction or spouse. Apparently, Colette ditched his Torn spouse when she was put in Fed, even if the sentence was only temporary. But if Colette is no longer married to Ambriella, how is he going to show the world just what a completely non-judgmental, non-offensive human being they are? Mr. Mad HD was very enthusiastic about his hatred towards Torn staff members in the short time he graced Torn City with his presence. Fortunately for Torn staff, who were still waiting on the wrath of Mr. Mad to be unleashed on them, that day will never come. Mr. Mad HD has found himself in a Torn Fed cell and will only be returning as a restart, if at all. Blitztick, assuming that's how you pronounce that, who apparently is better known as Killer J's Malty, will no longer be slinging insults around Torn. This Malty was said to have been outed by Ishtar, I believe, so any gifts or monetary donations should be sent her way. I did announce that Killer J had been feted at the end of the last episode, but only in a random graphic at the end since I had already recorded at the time, so it's worth mentioning again. Obviously, Killer J was caught with multiple accounts, so he's now in Fed, and it looks like at the time of this recording, which more than likely I won't have posted today, he had 12 days left to go. Can't wait! Rumor has it that Chibs is chat banned. I'm not sure if this is a recent development since Chibs is always chat banned, but from what I've heard, it's for 75 days this time. I think we probably a few days into it at least. And that's all I have for today. Keep it classy, Torn.